The following is based on a true story. Years ago, there was a family living in a small town in New York. They were a rich and noble family and had much power over the Hudson Valley region. They had a large family of 8 children, 4 sons and 4 daughters. The children were beautiful and smart, and every parent wanted their child to be like one of them. However, one of the sons, named Donald, was very socially awkward and tended to walk alone at night, despite his parents punishing him for it. What set him apart from the rest of the children was his bizarre and sick habit of gouging the eyes out of living animals. His mother found that one day he had a stash of frogs and mice, all missing their eyes. When the family learned of this habit, they isolated him even more. He would often go days without speaking to anyone. He was usually hard to find around the house, and eventually he was virtually forgotten from the family. It was like this until one day he went missing. The search went on for almost a year until they found his half-decayed body under about a foot of mud by the local creek. The most bizarre part of it was that his eye sockets appeared to be cut, like as if his eyes were violently gouged out of his head. The family paid for his body to be placed in a tomb, where a statue of him would be placed outside. It wasn't long before the villagers found that the tomb had been opened, the body gone. For years people thought that someone might have broken into the tomb, although the mystery was, the bricks looked like they were pushed out from the wall, from the inside. The story began of how the boy still wanders around the creek at night, waiting for victims to come along. They also say that the statue put up in front of his tomb will cry blood from time to time, and when it does, bizarre things will happen to those around it. One Halloween night, me and a couple of friends decided that we were going to walk around the creek and just prove to everyone that the story was bullshit. My friends quickly pussied out, so I was left alone at the foggy, smelly, swampy creek. I stood there for a while, and nothing happened, so I decided to head home and tell all my friends how pussy they were for not staying. I was thinking of that when I was snapped back into reality when my foot got stuck in some mud. The more I struggled, the more I got stuck. Now I was really terrified. I kept struggling until a strange sound stopped me. It almost sounded like a man in boots who was walking around in the mud. But the sound was too light, like it was a child. I began to panic. I was violently tugging and writhing, and I stopped, exhausted, realizing that I had done nothing more but succeeding in getting up to my waist in the putrid-smelling mud. I was looking down in frustration, and I had almost forgotten of the noise when I looked up and saw a child. He was standing in front of me and looked rotten and decayed, and smelled horrible. I was absolutely terrified to see that he was missing his eyes. It was clear to me now that the story was true, but it was too late to do anything. The rest of it happened was unclear. All I remember was the terrible pain of having my eyes gouged from my head. After that, it went dark, and I woke up in the funeral parlor. I heard my family members crying at the sight of my eyeless face. I couldn't move, and I couldn't speak either. I was paralyzed. Even though my eyes were gone, I still saw the face of the boy. I tried to picture something else, but I couldn't. The face was horrible. It was decayed, the lips were rotten away, and the teeth were decayed and brown. There's 2 black holes in his head where his eyes should have been, and the nose cartilage is almost completely decayed. It was like that for what felt like days, until I went dark again. I don't know how long I was out, but I think that was when I died. When I woke again, I found that I could move again. I got up and started to stumble around. It was dark and wet, the walls felt like stone, and I started to push on one of the walls. Surprisingly, it came out and I fell outside. I didn't hit the ground because I stopped myself by grabbing something. It felt like a stone face, a statue I think it was. What was odd was that it felt wet. It wasn't raining, and I don't think it had rained because when I felt the ground, it was still dry. I decided to taste the liquid to see what it was. What startled me was, it tasted like blood. I felt where it was coming from. The blood was literally pouring from what felt like the eyes of the statue, almost like it was crying blood. Somehow I knew that somehow the statue's crying had resurrected me. I blindly stumbled around for hours until I felt my feet hit mud. Now I wander endlessly around the creek, damned to see the horrible eyeless face of the boy for eternity. Listen to me when I say this. Beware the creek, and most of all, beware the horrible powers of the crying statue.